A sudden flash in the night sky lit up the eastern horizon, and within seconds, one of Russia's most expensive and strategically protected air defense bases, valued at nearly $500 million, was struck with a precision that no one expected. Surveillance crews were caught off guard, alarms blared across the compound, and emergency teams scrambled as multiple Ukrainian drones slipped through layers of radars that were supposed to be impenetrable. What happened next not only shocked Russian analysts, but also sent waves of concern across Europe and NATO. This attack didn't just destroy equipment, it exposed the vulnerabilities of a system Moscow believed was untouchable. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Conflict Front Stories channel. Please subscribe and like my videos because today's story is one of the most dramatic turns in the ongoing conflict, and it reveals how a single strike can shift the balance of power more than any speech, threat, or negotiation. The exterior scene begins with a wide aerial view of the remote Russian facility, positioned deep inside what Moscow considered a safe zone. Tall antenna structures rise above concrete bunkers, radar dishes sweep the skies in repetitive arcs, and armored patrol vehicles move along fenced perimeters. But as the camera glides closer, you can almost feel the tension as soldiers look up, tracing the faint buzzing noise approaching from the darkness. The base, heavily fortified and built to withstand missile attacks, suddenly faced an enemy they underestimated, a coordinated swarm of Ukrainian long-range drones engineered specifically to bypass electronic jamming and radar detection. These drones weren't improvisations, they were deliberate, upgraded platforms designed after months of intelligence gathering, testing, and strategic planning. Ukrainian engineers had studied Russian radar blind spots, thermal patterns, and even nighttime troop rotations. Inside the control room, the interior atmosphere is tight, urgent, and confused. Operators stare at flickering screens trying to interpret unexpected signals. A senior officer shouts for verification as the first unidentified object moves across the radar display. Another crew member struggles to reconnect a scrambled feed. In these short moments, the Russians realize something is wrong, very wrong. The radars had detected the incoming drones too late to intercept them. The base, which housed advanced S-400 systems, long-range surveillance radars, and sensitive communications gear, was suddenly exposed. Emergency lighting flashes red, the automated defense protocol activates, and soldiers race toward their positions as the drones descend rapidly. Then impact, the first explosion erupts near the radar tower, sending debris across the yard and shaking the bunkers. A fireball rises into the night sky, illuminating the silhouettes of panicked personnel. Just seconds later, another blast hits the main operations building, collapsing part of its roof and disabling power to several key systems. Exterior visuals show shockwaves rippling across the ground, vehicles thrown onto their sides, and smoke clouds covering the compound. The strike is precise, targeted, and devastating. Ukrainian drone operators, monitoring the mission from remote locations, confirm the damage and prepare for retreat. In Kiev, military analysts watch the live telemetry with stunned satisfaction. They had just delivered one of the most consequential blows of the year. As dawn breaks, the full scale of destruction becomes clear. The exterior of the base looks almost unrecognizable. Burned equipment litters the compound, communication antennas are bent and broken, and several high-value installations lie in ruins. Satellite images released hours later show crater patterns indicating not just a random attack, but a highly strategic one. The drones targeted the nerve centers of the air defense network, the radar array, the command hub, and the electronic warfare segment. This wasn't simply an attack to fear Russia. It was an attack to blind Russia, and that is what makes it so significant. Analysts begin to question whether Russia's much-advertised multi-layered defense system is truly as effective as claimed, especially against evolving drone warfare tactics. Inside the surviving bunkers, the interior scenes are chaotic yet grimly organized. Russian medics carry injured soldiers out on stretchers while commanders bark orders into malfunctioning radios. The smell of burnt electronics and diesel fuel fills the air. A junior officer tries to salvage hard drives from a damaged terminal, while others sift through wreckage desperately searching for intact equipment. Short bursts of conversation reveal confusion. Why didn't the jammers work? Why wasn't the early warning system triggered? Did Ukrainian intelligence have inside information? The quiet fear shared among these soldiers is unmistakable. They knew this wasn't an ordinary strike. It was a message. Across Ukraine, the reaction is electric. News reports begin broadcasting the footage captured by reconnaissance drones, showing the exact moment the Russian radar tower collapses. Social media erupts with commentary, military bloggers praise the precision, and experts dissect the implications. Exterior shots in Ukrainian cities show civilians gathering around large outdoor screens, watching replays, discussing the strategic shift this blow might bring. For many Ukrainians, the strike symbolizes resilience, innovation, and determination. It proves that despite its limited resources, Ukraine can still challenge Russia's most advanced military structures with creativity and tactical intelligence. Inside a Ukrainian command center, the interior scene is controlled but buzzing with pride and energy. Officers sit around digital displays, assessing the success of the mission and planning the next phases. A commander remarks that the destruction of the air defense site will open a temporary corridor for additional operations, giving Ukraine the opportunity to target deeper, more sensitive infrastructure. Another highlights that the strike achieved not only military impact but psychological shock, significantly affecting Russian confidence. Soldiers exchange brief congratulatory words before returning to their stations. There is no time for extended celebration. The war moves quickly. Meanwhile, in Moscow, the atmosphere is visibly tense. Morning news programs attempt to downplay the event, calling it a minor incident, but leaked reports tell a different story. Several high-ranking officials are summoned for emergency meetings, intelligence officers are questioned, and analysts try to piece together how Ukrainian drones penetrated a region believed to be secure. Exterior shots show the Kremlin's stone-faced silence, while columns of military vehicles move toward response facilities, preparing for inspections and potential reorganizations. Political commentators begin discussing the growing concern among Russia's leadership. If a $500M air defense base can be hit so easily, what else is vulnerable? Inside Russian media rooms, editors scramble to rewrite narratives. The interior scenes show teams debating what can be reported without causing panic. Some argue for transparency, others insist on heavy censorship. Ultimately, the government opts for controlled messaging, but online communities and independent bloggers quickly spread photos and satellite imagery that contradict the official statements. The damage cannot be hidden. Russian citizens begin posting comments asking why their expensive tax-funded defense systems failed so dramatically. Across Europe, military observers and NATO officials track the situation closely. Exterior shots from European defense centers show analysts reviewing maps, studying drone flight paths, and discussing how this attack highlights the changing nature of modern warfare. Long-range drones, once considered low threat, are now capable of penetrating some of the most advanced defense networks. European leaders issue statements acknowledging Ukraine's tactical achievement, while also expressing concern over the potential for escalation. NATO drone experts note that Ukraine's strike demonstrates not just technical capability, but also a bold strategic vision. In Washington, briefings emphasize how this event reflects the evolving landscape of battlefield intelligence and aerial dominance. Officials highlight the importance of supporting Ukraine's drone development programs, noting that small investments in technology can yield massive strategic advantages. Behind closed doors, analysts discuss whether similar weaknesses exist in other major powers' defense networks, and what lessons can be learned to prepare for future conflicts. Exterior shots of the Pentagon reveal a high, alert atmosphere as the world absorbs the implications. Back on the ground, Russian recovery teams struggle to clear wreckage from the site. The exterior shots are grim: charred metals, cratered roads, and twisted radar frames scattered across the landscape. Soldiers walk through ashes, marking damaged equipment and retrieving unexploded ammunition. Engineers attempt to reconnect power lines, but the central systems are so heavily damaged that reconstruction may take months. Military experts estimate that the destroyed equipment alone costs hundreds of millions, not including the operational disruption. Inside a temporary Russian field office, senior commanders meet around a cluttered table. Maps, photographs, and intelligence reports scatter the surface. The interior tension is palpable. A commander slams his hand on the table, demanding answers, while another tries to explain that the drone's low-altitude approach made detection nearly impossible. A third officer suggests that Ukraine might have obtained external assistance in planning the strike. But despite their arguments, the bottom line is clear. The attack exposed a critical vulnerability in Russia's defense grid. Ukrainian defense officials later reveal that the strike was not impulsive. It was the result of months of intelligence work. Exterior shots show Ukrainian drone factories where engineers test newly designed wings, guidance systems, and navigation chips. Technicians carefully assemble long-range drones, painting them with low-visibility coatings. In interview snippets, engineers explain that the drones used in the attack were equipped with advanced autonomous navigation, enabling them to adjust mid-flight to avoid Russian radars. The message is clear: Ukraine is evolving faster than expected. Inside Ukraine's intelligence department, analysts pore over intercepted communications revealing Russian panic in the hours following the attack. Interior scenes show teams quietly celebrating small wins before returning to operational tasks. They understand that Russian retaliation is likely, and they prepare countermeasures accordingly. Their goal is not just to shock Russia, but to systematically degrade its ability to conduct air operations along the front lines. As the global community reacts, military experts around the world begin analyzing the attack in detail. Some argue that this marks a turning point in drone warfare. Others suggest that Russia underestimated the threat and failed to update its defensive protocols. In online forums, defense enthusiasts dissect the strike frame by frame, highlighting the drone's impressive maneuverability. For civilians watching these events unfold, the emotional impact is mixed. Exterior scenes in Ukraine show people feeling empowered, hopeful that such operations could shorten the war. In Russia, however, the mood is more anxious. Families of military personnel express concern about safety, and citizens question the government's assurances about security. In the following days, the site becomes a symbol of shifting momentum. Satellite images show reconstruction efforts starting, but the scale of damage is so extensive that experts doubt the base will ever return to full operational capacity. Ukrainian officials issue statements praising their soldiers, while Russian officials continue giving vague responses. Inside the Conflict Front Stories studio, the analysis wraps with a reflection on what this event truly means. The interior monologue emphasizes that wars are no longer determined solely by large armies or massive missiles. Precision, intelligence, adaptability, and innovation are proving more decisive than raw power. Ukraine's strike on the $500M air defense base is not just a tactical victory. It is a demonstration of how determination and technology can challenge even the most fortified systems. The story concludes with a reminder: the conflict continues, strategies evolve, and the world watches closely as both sides adapt to this new era of warfare. And as always, thank you for watching Conflict Front Stories. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this unfolding geopolitical storm.